Earlier in this unit, we looked at how to combine like terms that had negatives. Today we're going to look more deeply into that and then extend that to what happens when we have parentheses as well. So, first of all, if I have, for example, the expression negative 4x plus 5 plus 9x minus 2, I can see that my like terms that have the variable x are negative 4x and positive 9x. When I combine a negative 4 and a positive 9, I get 5x. And I can also see that I have a positive 5 constant and minus 2. One of the things I want you to pick up now is, just as we've seen that subtraction is adding the opposite, we can also then see that the reverse of that is true. Adding the opposite, adding a negative, is the exact same thing as subtracting. Of course, you can see that 5 minus 2 is 3, and it's positive, and that's where this sign comes from. That is the same number I would get if I said plus a negative, but from now on I want you to try to get used to noticing that the sign in front of the number is the sign of the number. And when you make your box, include the sign in front of the number so that you know what it is. To look at a second problem, if I say 5 plus 4x minus negative 3x minus 8. Well, now here there is the problem of minus a negative. This is the one time where you actually do have to add the opposite. So one of the things you should do when you see a set of problems like this is see all the places where it's minus a negative so that you can notice that you have to change those signs. Now we go about it the same way. Positive 4x and positive 3x is 7x. If there's not a sign in front, we know that that's positive. So positive 5 and negative 8 is negative 3. Again, that is the same as adding a negative 8, but I want you to get used to understanding that this is minus, and that's where this subtraction sign comes from. If it comes out to be negative 3, we're going to call it minus 3 because it's the same as adding the opposite, but the general form that you're going to see these in is as negatives. So that's really the only tricky thing about combining like terms. When you get your answer, if it comes out negative, that means we're talking about, that's the sign that goes in front of the number. Problems that have the distributive property. So if I say, I don't know, 3 plus 5 times x minus 4 minus 10x. I can now see that this is a problem that has parentheses, and those are the numbers that are involved in getting rid of the parentheses. So since this is not, I'm going to bring it down, and now I have to distribute this number over the others. Since the sign in front of it is positive, that means I'm distributing positive 5. So positive 5 times x is positive, and that makes this plus 5x. Positive 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. That makes this minus 20. And then I bring down the negative 10x. When I combine those, notice I'm including the sign in the box because I can just look at this and I can say positive 5x and negative 10x is negative 5x. Positive 3 and negative 20 is negative 17. And that means that the sign in front of it is negative. Let's just practice a couple more. Let's say, 3x minus 8 times 4x minus 5 minus 9. Okay, So 3x is not involved, it comes down. Negative 9 is not involved. Now notice, the sign in front of 8 is negative. That means I am distributing negative 8 over these two numbers. Negative 8 times positive 4 is x is negative 32x. Negative 8 times negative 5 is positive, notice I'm writing plus 40. And now I'm going to combine these like terms. Positive 3x, oops, and negative 32 is negative 29x, and positive 40 minus 9 is positive 31. Now to complicate, simplify, and then evaluate. So we're going to do a problem like that now. What if I say negative 6x plus 3 times 11 minus 8x minus 2. So again, I'm going to bring down negative 6x, I'm going to bring down negative 2, and then if x equals negative 5. So I'm going to first simplify and then evaluate that expression. So 6x, 3 times 11 is 33. 3 times negative 8x is negative, so I'm putting minus 24x. When I combine these, I got negative 6x and negative 24x is negative 30x. And 33 minus 2 is 31. So we have done the simplify part. Now, to evaluate, I have to, as always, show replacement. Wherever I see x, I replace with negative 5. This means negative 30 times x. So I'm going to say negative 30 times 5, and you can do that, I actually like parentheses, plus 31. So I get negative 150, and this is addition now, it's not multiplication, plus 31. Well, this is a little hard to do in your head. You can see you have unlike signs, so you're going to need to subtract the difference between 150 and 31. We could just say over to the side 150 minus 31. 10 minus 1 is 9. 1, 1. So that means that it equals negative 119. Just one thing, though, I want to show you. Say you simplify something and it says this. And x is, I don't know, say negative 5. Remember, there are two ways to think about this. You could say the opposite of x, right, plus 14. And if x is negative 5, the opposite of x is 5. So I could think of it like that. And that equals 19. Or I could remember that if there's no coefficient, then that coefficient is 1. And negative 1 times negative 5 plus 14 is equal to 5 plus 14. Same thing. Either way, you get 19. These can be a little bit tricky, but if you keep practicing, you're going to be just fine.